All right. Hello, Libra. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully your days are getting off to a good start. For those of you that it's morning time, for those that it's evening, I'm glad you made some time to join us today. As you know, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. Welcome to your monthly reading. We're going to take a look at Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. This little furry guy here is Apollo, and my name is Nicholas, and again, I'm going to help you travel through all the options and opportunities available to you. Let me put him down and we'll talk a little bit more about what's in store. Thanks, buddy. All right, so as you could see as I put the monthly schedule up here, the way that I like to organize everything is to begin with some channeled messages. This morning as I woke up, literally kind of just as I was opening my eyes and my third eye, I could see flying insect. So I closed it for a second more and I saw a dragonfly, which is something that we'll be talking about for your sign today. Dragonflies are very auspicious, very positive symbols that represent for me the capacity to change because they go through metamorphosis, and also the reminder to sort of raise your frequency. So as we look at the cards in a few moments, we'll look for places where we might be triggered to go lower energetically, and we'll try to find a way to go higher instead. So I'll talk about your spirit totem, the dragonfly first, then we'll get into the Celtic Cross. I saved the expanded forecast for right after that, which is going to take a look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. That way we can really allow the center spread to kind of take whatever flavor or direction it needs to. And then the rest of the reading is very interactive and goes a little bit faster. We'll have a big idea which connects everything, blessings and blocks, a chance for you to vote on some things, a chance for me to pick some things, and then I go a little deeper into sun, rising, and moon specific messages. And of course, there's always a chance at the very end after the meditation for you to meditate on a question that I'll pull a card for, okay? So that's the overall way that this is organized. I would love for you to, if you're a first-time subscriber, or a first-time viewer rather, to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live, that's the only way that you can join into the chat. And it's absolutely free. It just keeps you posted on when new videos are added to my channel. And the bell icon is a way to make sure that you never miss anything. You can opt into all notifications. Liking you can do once every time you see the video, and it's free, and it also helps people discover. To keep in touch and know when I post new videos, I'd love for you to follow me on social media. I'm very active on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and I'll put notices of new videos and any other sort of updates on those particular channels. I'm also on TikTok. Just a quick note that there's been a lot of imposters over the course of the past 2 weeks. So it's always going to be my name spelled just like it's spelled on my website and here on YouTube, Nicholas Ashbaugh. There's a lot of people that put extra characters in it. Sometimes it's a completely different name and they just change the display. That's what's happening on TikTok right now. So just a quick note, I don't do private readings, I don't send friend invites, and I don't use direct messages on any social media platform, unless somebody's telling me that there's an imposter, and I'll say thank you usually, but I'm not gonna reach out to you. So if anybody's reaching out to you, big red flag, use my website, let me know, and then block and report that person. Twitter is the only place where my username's a little different. So I have to go into all of that, but it keeps popping up, and so just wanted to bring that up. All right, and then if you'd like to show some love and support, you can do it in a live reading by using SuperStickers, SuperChat, and that's a great way to know that you're actually connecting with me in real time, okay? If you have any sort of questions of when I'm going to go live, you can always go to my website to look at my schedule. All right, with all of that being out of the way, let's get ready for your channeled messages. While I'm getting the display ready here, I wanted to remind you again that the totem today is the dragonfly. And again, dragonflies are one of my favorite sort of symbols to come through. And if you Google some images, you can see the beautiful iridescence that often is a part of them. Lots of blues and greens, which are really great for heart energy, for your throat chakra, and everything, kind of the whole sort of spectrum of colors really show up with them. So just a beautiful totem to look at too. So the first thing that I think of with a dragonfly is they're just beautiful to watch flying. It's a reminder to spread your wings. And let's geek out on some facts, because every time I bring a message through, it comes from a sort of biological fact about the totem. So, fun facts. This particular insect, it's one of the oldest on the planet, predating a lot of the fossils of dinosaurs. So to the best of my knowledge and what I could find out there, it looks like they are as old, if not older, than dinosaurs. They are smaller than their prehistoric cousins, however. Back in the past, they were as big as birds, basically, like crows. They had up to a 2-foot or a 61 centimeter wingspan, which is pretty darn big for an insect. Part of that, by the way, I remember from some of my other research is due to the fact that there were different oxygen levels at the beginning of this sort of planet's existence. Because we deforested this to a large degree, we've taken away most of the trees, but there was a lot more trees. There were denser swamps and just not all the cities and the pavement now, so there was a lot more oxygen, so insects could also grow a little bit bigger because of that. But at any rate, because of the wingspan, because of the beautiful wings, and it actually can fly pretty fast too. I didn't put how fast here, but it's a reminder to spread your wings. The Knight of Swords for me in tarot is a great indicator of changes happening and pretty quickly. And that's one of the things that I was inspired to kind of add to this slide as well. So spread your wings, exercise your independence and your free will, and get the ball rolling, get something moving in the right direction. And you'll be happily surprised by how quickly you start to see some of that change and movement happen. All right. The eyes of a dragonfly are also pretty impressive. So maybe the first thing I think of is the color and the iridescence, and then the wings, and then I look at those big bulging eyes on a dragonfly as well. They have a lot of little tiny lenses on those eyes, and they basically can see 360 degrees, which is amazing. So they're looking up, down, behind them, all directions. And it's a reminder for us to do symbolically the same thing. Try to look at it from different angles and get different sort of research and opinions, and try to sort of fully flesh something out before jumping to a conclusion, or I should say arriving at a conclusion. And if you hit some sort of a creative wall, this is a reminder also to keep looking, to look for another way, because you may be surprised. You can basically reset and find a different way out of something. Okay, so I like that. I like the idea that if you just sort of like free your mind a little bit and listen and research, there might be something that comes to you that was unexpected, but you have to sort of suspend disbelief and just explore it a bit. So I brought the King of Wands in here because he's one of the best thinking cards. Both the King and the Queen of Wands are really good at strategizing and thinking, and even sort of like putting things, kind of like working with their hands and just seeing what will come with it. So try not to overthink, try to just be the channel and allow things to come through you. There's always a way, and the Magician is able to kind of like, it's a Jack or a Jill of all trades. It has this capacity to take previous experiences and repackage. So what's kind of cool about the dragonfly and what inspired me to pull the Magician energy here is that they are, just like they can see in all directions, they can fly in all directions. And they can go up and down and back and forward, and not many insects or even planes or vehicles can do that. So there is a reminder here to be flexible in thought and in action. It's a good time to get moving figuratively and also literally. So get started on projects, move if you need to from one place to another, travel if you need to, reach out to a different location. And here's a cool thing. If someone's trying to outmaneuver you and you think they may be close to doing so, remember you have that dragonfly energy. You can go this way, that way. You can also backtrack a little bit if you need to and fix something, because they may not be as flexible. They're trying to do this, but there's another way. The common thread with this is either in thoughts or in actions or in something that reveals itself to you. So in tuning in, like those big eyes that can see in all directions, you're going to find something or stumble upon something that you didn't know. And then the Magician is saying, hey, I've got a trick up my sleeve and I'm going to find a way to make this work. Okay, both the modern day Magician and then the Magician as we see in tarot, which is actually a channel of intuitive and creative energy. Shed your skin and prepare for fast change and development. Again, recapping what we've been talking about prior to this. So another fun fact about the insect here of the dragonfly. It does go through a metamorphosis, but it goes through one that's quote unquote incomplete, or maybe we could just say like a supercharged or faster metamorphosis. So normal stages of development comprise egg, larva, pupa, and adult. And basically the dragonfly just goes through egg, nymph, and adult. And it doesn't have that larva pupa stage. It just kind of skips one of them and goes straight to the other. It still sheds its skin, which is cool. And that's why I chose this card here from the Sun and Moon deck, which shows death and rebirth as sort of one energy and a phoenix rising from the ashes. So shedding your skin means that there was a way of doing something. There was a way of being. It may have worked in the past, but what worked or works doesn't always work in the future. So we have to continue to evolve, explore, and try new things. Otherwise, we are going to fall behind. A great example, and it's not going to be easy for some of the younger folks, but if you were born in the past century, television is a great example, and you can see that it went through a lot of phases over maybe like 50 years or something. There were black and white televisions, then there were color. It started off in a square or mostly square, sort of here in the United States. In Europe, it was more sort of like cinematic, but it started off square, then it went to sort of wider displays, and then it went from CRT to LCD or just sort of like plasma and other things. So it continues to change. If we had just stayed with the black and white, think of how boring things would have been. So you have to keep changing. Computers are also a great example. I have an old-fashioned Mac Plus that's on a shelf behind me that I like to look at sometimes because it's crazy. You have like all of that times 100 in this little tiny, phone that we carry with us. So just when you think something is done, it's not. It's only just beginning, right? Even radio, which continues to persist, has moved from traditional terrestrial antenna to like satellite radio, or really now it's just being broadcast and you can pick it up on your cell phone instead. So everything, the modes of communication and the modes of technology have radically changed. We no longer even use like floppy disks or compact disks or CD-ROMs or any of that jazz. It's now, USB drives, or you're just wirelessly transmitting information. So you have to shed your skin and your way of thinking or working. And in a lifetime, I guarantee you're going to see changes in technology, from how cars work to, I don't wear it during this because I don't want distractions, but like your watch, all of that stuff. Like now it's a mini computer on your watch as well. So when I was a kid, you would hope for that. Maybe we all thought the Dick Tracy watch was possible. We're pretty close now with a lot of the smart watches. So just an example in technology, how you have to shed what worked before, that skin, that way of thinking or doing. Because if you don't imagine something different, it can't happen. I often say believing is seeing. And this is why when folks have this sort of approach towards what we're doing here, and they're just like, well, that's nonsense. How do you know until you open your third eye a little bit and explore and see where it takes you? If you close yourself to an experience, of course it won't exist to you. You have to be open to exploring. Science in general is curious. So at least you should be open to the possibility. Never completely close unless there is empirical data in front of you saying, yeah, it doesn't work. If there's a question, then there's a possibility. If there's a possibility, then you can explore and you can see where it takes you. And you might be the first one to find some sort of undiscovered country. All right. This portends quick-moving changes. We were just talking about shedding your skin here, that require your ability to let go of an old paradigm in order to get into that gateway that we see here with the death and the rebirth card. And the final thing that I wanted to talk about with this particular totem is being able to go the distance. There's a particular type of dragonfly that's called the globe skimmer, which is a cool name. And it's named that because it can go 11,000 miles or over 17,000 kilometers to get where it needs to for migration. And it's a reminder that sometimes we're required to go a little longer, a little farther than we need to, or than we imagined, but it's what's necessary. So if you're willing to go the distance, then we have the world card here, which is showing that you have expansion, you have a reward for that, but it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off that requires, again, a little bit of investment from you. So if you're ready, when you're ready, some cool things could start to manifest for you, okay? So that, I'm just gonna double check, but I'm pretty sure that was the last slide. Yeah, that's the last slide on this. And I think that's a really cool message for you today, Libra. Development, movement, flexibility, but again, there is that sort of mental reset that needs to happen for you, that this isn't everything. You know, there's always room for innovation. There's always room for exploration, for growth. And I'm excited to see where that takes all of us next. All right. So if you just joined, a reminder that this is the monthly reading. It's going to help you travel through the next 6 to 8 weeks. And we're going to take a look at everything together. All right, so if you have any requests for decks, let me know. I'm going to pull a few that I think would be cool for today. I'm thinking more nature-based. So let me kind of start to pull these through, and we'll get started here. All right, so here we go. All right, so definitely I'll pull Wild Unknown as one of them. Let me see what else is calling to me. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully your day is getting off to a good start. I think also the Divine, Tarot of the Divine would be nice. Let's see what else is calling. Also put the Sun and Moon in. And let's see. Let's do one more. Okay. All right, so these are the ones that I'm called to pull today for voting, and give me a second here, and we'll see what you guys want. All right, so we have Wild Unknown, we have Tarot of the Divine, we have Sun and Moon, and then we have the Wild Wood. Okay, so let me show you a few cards from these while you vote, and we'll go from there. All right, so because we're dealing with some insects and some more nature-based totems today, we have the Wild Unknown, which is a perfect sort of connection to nature. We have Tarot of the Divine, which I just really love as well, and there are some nice nature images in this one as well, plus just some beautiful illustrations, and it has one of the coolest sort of palettes where every card seems like it's perfectly in tuned with that. And then I had pulled that Death and Rebirth image here from this particular deck, so I was just inspired to put Sun and Moon. Also has some beautiful imagery from nature. It's just a nice soft deck to work with as well. And then the Wild Wood. Wild Unknown here, Wild Wood here. Too many wilds. But this one's all nature. Lots of animals, just a few people, and a very kind of cool magical element to it as well. All right, so all of these are good choices. I'll give you another moment or two. Let's see what's in the lead. I think we have a pretty strong winner here with Tarot of the Divine, which is a great choice. So I'm going to end the poll. Last chance to cast a vote if you'd like to. All right, so I'm going to end the poll now and kind of clean up what's on the table, assuming that Tarot of the Divine is going to continue to take the lead here. And yes, we have Tarot of the Divine. Sun and Moon was kind of coming through in the background, so maybe I'll put it here to the side because it was pretty close. It was about 2 percentage points. So I'll do the main part of the reading with this deck, and then I'll do the expanded with this one. So whenever it's tied or close to a tie, I'll use both. So always remember to vote if you can. All right, so not the expanded. We're going to do the Celtic Cross right now. All right, so let's get everything set up. This is going to be for the next 6 to 8 weeks. We'll give things a good shuffle and see what's coming through. All right. Libra, looking at July, looking at the next 6 to 8 weeks. What's in store for you? Some good stuff so far. shift all of this. When I have 2 decks, it gets a little bit busy up here. All right. All right, let's get started on this. We'll talk a little bit about the Catalyst first. The Catalyst, again, is a card that helps connect everything and keep you on the right track. And we have these standing stones here and showing a passage. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the that show and the book. Why can't I think of it right now? Where they touch the stones and they travel. So here's one of the things: if you can ground yourself in what you're trying to do and really kind of focus. You may be Outlander, that's it, right? So kind of like that show. I only watched the first season. I should watch some of the other ones or possibly read the book if it comes from a novel series. But I do remember that, like she touched the stones and was able to travel. I kind of like that as an idea for movement, because what it's saying in respect to forming an idea is that you really want to understand where it's at. Because when I think of stones in tarot, they're pentacles. And so you would want to really kind of take one idea or one thought and really ground and develop and see where that can take you. And you may be surprised how that focus can actually open up new ideas, new solutions, and the sort of pace could pick up faster than you think. So I'm looking at that actually as an indicator for a portal, like that movie or like that TV series. So take time, slow down, focus on one thing. You'll save yourself time later, and it will pick up by grounding, focusing, and sort of clearing your head. Because sometimes when we try to put ourselves in all those different directions, here, at once, we just end up spreading ourselves too thin, like the 2 of Pentacles. So take one central focus, and you're going to see not only can you get through whatever that sort of goal or project or idea is, but it may bring through additional sort of thoughts and resources and people that you didn't even anticipate connecting with. Okay? So there you go. Inspires me to pick up and sort of rewatch that. I'd have to rewatch the first season of Outlander and then see where it takes me. I think they're just doing their last season. I did see that. All right, let's go to your center card. It's an unexpected one because as I'm looking at everything else, this would be the only, well, there's 2 challenging cards, Deep Past and then sort of like what's going on energetically with you. But everything else is very positive. So I believe if we can work through these 2, then we open up a lot of opportunities for you. Actually, most of it has to do with perspective and resources. This one also could be a potential block, but everything, there's still some really good energy here. So I believe I can help you with this by just shifting perspective. So let's start with the center card. We have the 5 of Pentacles, and the 5 of Pentacles often comes through when we are willing to take less than we should. And we're willing to take less because we don't believe that we're worth more, or we believe that it might not be possible to ask for more. And a lot of times this happens because of someone from the past usually, that told us we couldn't, we shouldn't, or we wouldn't be able to do something because we weren't something enough. Good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, whatever. Lucky enough. And all of those things are limiting thoughts that aren't necessary this month, because that dragonfly came through to show you, yeah, that was the old, like shed your skin and then go in another direction. Whenever in nature I'm walking my dog and I either have a dragonfly fly in front of me, or hummingbirds tend to come a lot more to me, and because there's a lot of flowers on the street that I live on, so they're always kind of like drinking the nectar and pollinating. But both of those particular totems can move really fast and move in a lot of directions, and they always remind me things will be okay. I see that, and the other one for me is a ladybug. So those three tend to be very good luck symbols, and they usually tell me things are going to rapidly change, but it starts with here and here. So I have to just change my perspective. So whoever did that in the past to you was probably in their own way hurt and couldn't be who or what you needed them to be. It could have been a parent, could also have been a teacher, a friend or a mentor, someone that you looked up to, trusted, or thought would have your back, but they couldn't or didn't or wouldn't. But that doesn't mean now that you can't or you aren't deserving of this. The cool thing with the Five of Pentacles is typically, not so much on this particular illustration, but typically you would always see another person there. So there's usually help if you're willing to look, and there's always a nicer place in the background, like a church or a mosque or a temple or something. So let me just pull the traditional card here, because the piece that's missing from this deck that's important is if the other person is there but won't react, won't sort of like reciprocate, that's actually a really good sign from the universe that it's not worth your time and energy. Sometimes people aren't receptive, and they're not willing to ask for help, receive help, or they just don't. They're tuned out. So what we see here is two people that should be working together, but they're not. Sometimes it's because they're more comfortable experiencing the energy of pain or rejection. So this card is coming through and it's saying that is an old way of thinking and doing things, and it's not really productive or conducive to what's coming through now for you. So you have to be willing to think, I can do this, I'm deserving of this, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And this time, if I go to the right person, they're gonna open arms, sort of like receive that, and I'm not gonna feel that rejection. I deserve better. And that's really what you can use as your mantra. I am worth it, I deserve better, I am ready to succeed and to receive the love and abundance that I deserve. So working on self-confidence will help diffuse the doubt that really feeds the power of the Five of Pentacles. If someone in your life has gotten away with paying you less, or you've gotten into a habit, sometimes this happens, I've seen it like back when I used to be in a traditional career path, but sometimes when people enter in at a low pay grade, maybe because they were an intern and then were hired, they have a hard time catching up with peers that just entered in, sort of like in that title. And so if you entered in lower, like a pay rate, sometimes what's necessary is to hop out, go somewhere else, and come back if you really like the company. Sometimes in a relationship, if you came in and you always over-delivered, the other person can kind of get used to that, and they're not then sort of participating the way they should and reciprocating. So ask for what it is that you need. Be willing to look elsewhere if you need to. Be willing to give that person or place some space and say, you got used to this. Let's just kind of like disengage a little bit. And I think both of us need to reset and figure out what we're doing here. And, taking a vacation, taking a holiday, taking some sort of a little separation where it's not even an ultimatum. We're not even there. Let someone miss you a little bit. This is really good for a job. It was my second or third job, but it was a big one where it was the one that I'd been working for when I was in school and everything. But I was so scared of being replaced because I was freelancing for a long time. It was like 4 years. They never had the headcount to hire me, but I always had this fear of being replaced. But what I should have done is just taken a week break and let them see how everything would have fallen apart because I was doing so much. Later in my life, I learned that lesson, that it was good to sometimes just let a deadline go or let people miss you. And then when you came back, they'd be like, thank God you're here. We have all this stuff. Please, in the future, and you could just say, well, if you need me so much, let's make this, I need commitment here. I need to know that I'm okay. So So don't be afraid to let people have some space and distance. Don't feel like you have to constantly do everything for everyone. It feels like you're giving a lot of energy away and maybe too much. Let them come to you as well, and you don't have to hold up the fort. That's another thing here with the Five of Pentacles. When we're looking at energy exchange, they need to observe you, and that's why I showed you that other Five of Pentacles, because the two people are disengaged. They're not aware of the connections, okay? We have the King of Wands, which was what I had highlighted in my channeled messages a little bit earlier. And the King of Wands has the capacity to organize, develop, and move things forward. Where the King of Swords is good at execution and good at communication, the King of Wands is a really good leader, and it's a kind of leader that would roll up his sleeves and just be there in the trenches, and I like that. So for you this month, you have this capacity to show the way, and I feel like that may be more advantageous is the word that's coming to mind, but there's another one that would be better. It may be more effective than talking everything out. So show what you need to show, and then later, if people need things to be backed up or whatever, that's fine. Sometimes it's even, there's a phrase where it's sort of like you can ask for forgiveness later, but you just sometimes need to do what's necessary. So push the needle in the right direction, and unless there's explicitly a reason you shouldn't do it, that may actually be something that gets you further faster without as many sort of without as many hoops that you have to go through, as much red tape that you might normally have to deal with. But anyway, I like this. This is a boss card. It's the ultimate boss card, and it shows me that you have the capability to get things done. I would say ultimate, maybe it's penultimate, because the Emperor would probably be the ultimate. But either way, when we're looking at just the minor arcana, I would give it to the King of Wands. He's a pretty good boss. All right. Here's one of the factors from the past that could be limiting you a little bit. So we had the Five of Pentacles, which is sometimes giving away or accepting less than you should. The Five of Cups can be focusing on what hasn't worked instead of the person in the background that basically is your advocate, instead of the door that is opening after these other doors have shut. It's not important what's been closed. It's important what path is still in front of you and what doors are open. Focusing, just like I said with those three totems, with the dragonfly, with the hummingbird, and with the ladybug, on positivity, possibilities, and all of them can fly, which is an interesting sort of thing. So sometimes you have to get sort of like shift your perspective, move around like the helicopter a little bit. And it's interesting, the helicopter image comes through sometimes when I, and I don't have it here in this spread, but sometimes when I have an Empress card reversed, she tends to be, so there's almost like an elephant in the room here. There's an Empress energy around you that tends to kind of come in. I don't read gender, I just read sort of like what it is. So it can be anyone in your life, but they tend to come in and make you second guess your ability to do something. So they'll sort of say, did you forget about this? Or make sure have you done this? Yeah, what's going on with this? Are we still tracking here? And it kind of drives you nuts, because a lot of times you're just about to tell them that you're okay with it, and then they come in and they make you feel like you need someone looking after you. So try to get ahead of that energy and try to push back on it as well and say, I'll let you know if I have questions. In the meantime, that's a very distracting sort of thing or whatever. Or just tell them, yeah, here you go. I was just about to deliver it. We're not only that, but we're early. Surprise them. They'll be like, oh, okay, good. Well, glad I'm asked. Glad everything's okay. So just make sure that you can prove those helicopter people that they're wrong and that you're okay and that everything's all right. So be on time, get your research done, and make sure that you're not just on time, but maybe early on things. So that's going to help kind of clear that out. And if that person still kind of is always a helicopter, that's an indication that that there's still a need for trust to be built between you and them, and you have to decide when enough is enough. Okay. There's always a hidden Two of Cups. We can see it right here. Well, usually, I should say. Some artists tend to show the 2 cups down and the 3 ups. But either way, there's usually love and support around you. And with the 2 of Cups, that would be partnership, that would be friendship, that would be an ally. You just have to look around. You have to see who's right there. And you feel alone in the 5 of Cups, but you're actually not alone in, you feel alone in the 5 of Pentacles, but you're not alone when we see the 5 of Cups. Okay, And that is supported by the Lovers card here. So we have the Beauty and the Beast reimagined with this particular illustration. This is in the recent past, but since we're looking at this 6 to 8 weeks ahead, this should be happening around the time that you're watching this reading. So that tells me that there is, for some of you, there could be an unrequited love interest around you, either someone that you like that isn't reciprocating or someone that likes you and you're not paying attention, or an ally, a hidden ally. And I like to see that. I think that's something that all of us can tap into. So whether you're partnered or not partnered, whether you're looking for love or friendship, someone around you has been wondering why you're not talking to them or picking up on the cues that they'd like to connect more. So lovers doesn't have to be romantic. It can just be a good friend or a great connection. Open yourself up. There's someone around you that's waiting to see if you're going to pick up on the cues. So if you're willing and ready to pick up on the cues, then now is a great time for that. The Lovers card is also one of the best magnetic cards, particularly in the major arcana, because what it says is that people are more open to receiving what you have to offer, whether it is a product, a pitch, a service, spending time with you, hanging out, watching a movie. This means like, oh my gosh, it's so good to hear from you. Yeah, let's hang out. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you. It's receptive. It's surprised in a good way. Okay, so take some time and open up your schedule a little bit. The other thing, and it's really interesting with this illustration because we're working with fairy tales and Tarot of the Divine. So we have Beauty and the Beast, and in the fairy tale, Belle sees things in the Beast that, he's forgotten. And sees beyond the exterior. So there could be someone, and it could be you in your life, that feels like they aren't lovable. And loving yourself is so important. So working on, we talked about this a couple days ago, but just focusing on looking in that mirror and thinking, I forgot to talk about this when we were having this discussion on Tuesday, but I remember in some of my past life flashbacks that before I came into this planet, I've talked about this in other videos, but it bears repetition today, but there was anywhere between 2 to 3 guides, and it was displayed to me in a metaphor that I could understand, but it was kind of like I was in a changing room, right? And I was basically deciding what my life, what my body and my life would look like here. So we were choosing who I would be, what family I would be incarnated into, like what part of the world, what I might look like, and all of that. And there were guides and angels around. And it was sort of like you could try on personas in this sort of virtual changing room. Almost as if you're creating an avatar in a game and you're trying different skins and different, sort of species and all of that. We kind of do that before we decide which planet, which person, which family we're going to incarnate into. And so with that being said, you always are beautiful. Even if you feel like the Beast, you're really the prince behind that. So this is about owning the fact that you co-designed your experience with the divine and with agents of the divine. Therefore, you are divine. Therefore, who you are is exactly who you need to be, which is magical. So don't forget that, ever. And never let anybody tell you that you are not beautiful, relevant, deserving, valuable, because you are, okay? And that is what the Ace of Pentacles is all about, my friends. Nice segue into that. So in your crowning card, we have the Ace of Coins. If you have that sense of value that we just highlighted, then it's like Jack and the Beanstalk, which is what we're seeing here. Things will start to happen so quickly for you because you are emanating the frequency of love, and people like that and they want more of that. So when you think of maybe your favorite athlete or comedian or actress or musician or teacher or family member, try to hit the whole spectrum of people that you might be admiring. There are a lot of things that you might admire. It may go topical first, but when we're talking about people like comedians or singers, we tend to actually tap into talent and personality then. So it could be the fact that they're just sort of goofy and awkward. It could be that they have just a really cool, vulnerable side that they let out. It could be that there's just something very relatable, and you want more of that, right? And so then you keep saying, yeah, what else are they doing? I'll pay to see that. I'll pay to listen to that. That's how it works. They're emanating a quality that's admirable or relatable, and then people want to connect with that. So if you admire and relate to your highest self, more people are going to relate to you, and that coin that we're seeing there and the growth that's surrounding it starts to enter into your life. Now, we're taking it off this sort of etheric level. An Ace of Pentacles can be an offer. It can be an offer of love. This could be proposal for some of you. These two can also say, we love what you're doing and here's a raise. We love what you're doing and here's a transfer. It could be someone that says, I haven't heard from you in forever and I have something that I'd like to kind of put in front of you. It's basically doors opening. So this, my friends, is very much the past. The Five of Cups is not how it's going to be forever. But there are two things you have to look at. One is to focus on what you learned from the disappointments, and then also open up to the person that's there. And the person that's there is holding a skeleton key, can open the doors. So that is no longer you. This is you. And this is you. And there's a lot of movement that's happening with this. One of the things that's going on in your head, though, and this is now what's kind of affecting the near future, is I want to let go, but I'm afraid to let go. The good news is the Four of Pentacles is reversed, which is about release, and it's about releasing something that isn't good enough, strong enough, open enough, whatever enough. And when it's in the upright position, you can see that it's fear-based. It looks like we have like a bird of prey there in the background. If we look at the traditional Four of Pentacles, you'll see the person holding on for dear life to a coin. And it's sort of like, if I let this go, or if I try something different, it may not be as good. What if this is it? What if this is as good as it gets? This is not as good as it gets. This card is a limiting card. And I understand why sometimes we hold on to things, but this is saying keep looking. If this is all you see around you, then your job would be to go back to what we talked about in the channel messages, which is to basically research a little bit, right? So research and you shall find something bigger and better. Let me just take a drink and then we'll continue to talk about this. The other thing that you need to do with this card is just to open your heart. With the Four of Pentacles, what happens sometimes is, it's kind of interesting that it happens this way. This is basically, if I were to put a caption, it would say, I am hurt, therefore I am closing myself down. I'm going to overthink stuff. Sometimes I'm going to miss the love and opportunity right in front of me or right behind me, right around me, because it's easier to hold on to just what I have than to open myself up to this, because there is something beautiful that wants to come into your life right now. So don't be afraid to say yes. Don't be afraid to engage. Don't be afraid to take that leap and see where it takes you. Okay? All right. Beautiful energy overall. Once you sort of take the leap, that is. All right. So we have the Knight of Wands here in reverse when we're looking at you, how your ego is coming through. And one of the things with this is to keep an open mind, to not be afraid to really sort of just explore a path or explore something that is opening up to you. Sometimes we go into this sort of thought spiral where initially it's like, yeah, that sounds good, but ... what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? So it's okay to have a few of those thoughts because that helps you plan, helps you put a safety net or a contingency plan in place. But it can be something that is self-defeatist in the long run. So one thing that I would kind of encourage you to do or to think here is that, well, what if I'm pleasantly surprised by this, or this? I'm going to open myself up here and just see what the universe wants to deliver to me. And maybe there's something better than I imagined. So I always like to go to the positive possibilities rather than the limiting sort of possibilities, because you start to attract and manifest those if you're not careful. Okay? and just start doing something. The Knight of Wands here, it's saying your thoughts are slowing down the action. So one thing that can help you is to basically, if you think of research and development, prototyping is what's coming to mind. So you have to try and sometimes make some mistakes before you get out there with what you want at the end of the day. So prototype and sort of like pitch a few different ideas. Back when I used to work in design work, usually you would present 3 different options to a client. One would be exactly what they expected. One would be extremely out there. It maybe would be what you want. And another one would be somewhere in the middle. And what would happen is that would just give them this feeling like usually what you presented to them wasn't pushing the idea far enough, but you knew that there would be elements of what they would need. And you could push in a few areas, but you would try to get them somewhere between the other two, either what you're pitching, which could be really bold, or some sort of combination of what you thought, what they thought. And you could say, we blended these two. We know this may be too out there for you, but this feels really good. So you try to give them the Goldilocks, but you didn't get it right necessarily the first time. And then a lot of times they would say, you know what? I actually really like this bold thing, but maybe we could take a little bit of the other one that you did. Or, sometimes you would be surprised by what they liked, but you usually had to do an additional phase or two of iterations on those ideas. It wasn't perfect out of the gate. That's how interior design, product design, graphic design works, is that you have to kind of do this dance back and forth. Very, very, very rarely do you kind of nail it on the first pitch, but sometimes. And that's exciting when you do. So just know that when we're looking at innovation, it's a process. And so just get started is what this is saying, okay? So even speaking from my background, which was design, and then I did production later. Production is the same way. There's sometimes a phase where you release something and then you iterate on that. And even if you're trying to do something, you can't always do everything you want to do. So you do as much as you can, and then you can always expand it later. So iterations, explorations, prototyping, that's where the energy is at, not in perfection. We are not here to be perfect. We're here to evolve and to get better and to add layers to the onion skin and to just sort of like get more and more experience, okay? So using that experience, growing. As long as you're growing, then you're going in the right direction. If you're not, that's when you want to sort of like think a little bit more. There is some impatience, but it's going to be okay because we have two cards of movement here. So in the environment, someone around you is maybe the one that's incapable of moving forward. Could be a very conservative person. It could be someone that you had hoped that would be there for you. But here's the interesting thing. Just as your car has brakes to protect you from getting into an accident, and you hit or pump the brakes when you need them, if the universe hits the brakes, which can be the Hanged Man, it's because that's not the way. This isn't the person. This isn't the time. So wait a moment and see, again, if one door opens, there's another one that's opening. So one closes, another one's opening. So just focus for a second and think, why did that close? Why is this stopping? Why is this person saying no? Are they showing their true colors? Is this not the right person to connect with? And just pause for a second, because the Hanged Man always brings enlightenment. No one focuses on that part of this, or they don't focus on it enough. The whole purpose for the Hanged Man was to become enlightened. Because in tarot, it's not about even the word Hanged Man. It's not what it seems. It was Odin hanging from the tree of life in order to learn the secrets of the runes. So he had to give up time and energy and a little bit of blood and tears there to kind of like wait it all out in order to learn something. So a pause brought knowledge, or brought in some sort of information. So what seems like it's a delay is actually redirection, and you just have to decide what to do with the time given and where to go instead of this. So it's a no or a pause or a delay so that you can see something else. Because if you had just gone straight through, you would have missed the other thing. So not this, but this or this. There's something better, there's something else. So if you got rejected, if you got laid off, if you are being asked to wait, see what else is there. There's something better. But whatever isn't happening or didn't happen or fell away, it's for a purpose. It's not punishing you. It doesn't mean that you failed. It means that the universe is co-creating something better for you. And we see it happening pretty quickly here in Hopes, Fears, and Opportunity. I love that this is kind of like a painting metaphor that we see with this one. So don't give up on what this is, because we've got the King of Wands here with a great idea, great energy. We see someone willing to invest or connect with that once you are loving whatever it is that you're putting out there. And then we see this coming into being. This is the resources, and this is sort of the beginning of the demonstration or the execution of it. So some of you may also be faced with a very difficult choice between two people, two jobs, two decisions, and they're both very compelling. One of them moves faster. One of them moves slower. Focus on the one where the activity is happening. So we see the Lover and the Ace of Coins here, and then we see the Hanged Man and the Ace of Wands here. Follow your heart. And here's the thing too. One of them may be worth the wait if you're really kind of focusing on, but this is where my idea is. But one of them will develop faster. So it's really kind of dependent upon you and how patient you are, how much time and energy and resources you have. But I still see two great opportunities in front of you. You have to decide what matters. So it could be a test of patience. It could also be taking too long. You have to sort of sort that out. Because if this person, here's the thing. I also see two different offers here too. One is better. If someone's ready and willing to invest and connect with you and the other person's dragging their feet, I mean, that's indicative of something. And if you've tried a few attempts here, then this is the more receptive energy. So don't overthink. We talked about that earlier. And don't give away something for less than it's worth. I actually think you're worth way more than these two cards represent, because that ace shows me that the sky's the limit here. And if you add that to this, it's the Six of Pentacles. If you add these together, it's independence. It's like the Nine of Pentacles. So there's a lot more hidden value here than is even coming through in the cards in front of me. You add them all together, you've got the Ten of Pentacles. So it's just scattered a little bit, but I see potential and I see movement for you once you're willing to take that leap. All right, we have the Eight of Cups here in the final card. The card is reversed, but it's still a really positive energy. The Eight of Cups is a chance for you to come back to something, to finish something. It's a second chance card. And the second chance for many of you could be, again, on having something really be successful this time. So this is your hopes, your fears, your dreams. This is where your head's at, and this is what's happening here. And this is near future, but this is actually what's going on. So there's a negotiation. I believe there's going to be a back and forth for some of you. Don't be afraid to say, well, let me think about it. Or I'm going to have to see, this isn't the best offer. Let me look around a little bit. Let them sweat it out a little bit unless you absolutely need it, because there is a little bit of room for negotiation. Just make sure that you're pushing in the right way. The difference between the two cards would probably not be more than maybe 10%. There's not a lot, but there's a little, and you're worth that percentage. So push to get what you're looking for within reason. And if there's something better out there, then take that, because whoever isn't willing to kind of like, this is something I like to think about, whether it's a current job or someone that's giving you a lowball offer. If you have to force their hand for something more, then you're always going to be working with someone who underestimates or is sort of like cheap. And when it comes to what you're doing, you are worth way more than that. Okay? So you shouldn't have to threaten someone, and you shouldn't have to haggle someone endlessly to get what you're worth. Food for thought. The Eight of Cups is also what I was talking about, taking that vacation that you need, taking a break, getting some clarity. Where do you stand? Where do I stand? What do you want? And then when you come back to this, because the door is open, you can think about it clearly and answer or communicate or somehow kind of like negotiate the way that you need to. Okay? Ultimately, though, we have really good cards here with the aces, and we have an open door with the Eight of Cups, a second chance. Very cool. Talking about old technology, this reminds me of a palette from like the 80s in computer graphics, like EGA is what it, or CGA, EGA, because it kind of has this sort of monochromatic stuff, but it's beautiful because they have all these colors here. So really beautiful deck, one of my favorites. But with this, one last thing here. Sometimes you need the other person needs to either be set free or you need to free yourself, because this can be a card where there is a string attached or a cord attached, or always sort of like an open door. And when you really want to move onward and upward and expand the horizons here a little bit, sometimes you need to close the door so that you're free, so that you're unencumbered, so that you're open. Okay, so that might be something to think about in the long run. Does this still serve me? Why am I keeping this person, place, or thing on the back burner? Is it holding both of us back on some levels? Okay, now we will take a look at the expanded forecast. And the expanded forecast, of course, comprises health, wealth, love, and destiny. And each one of these is multifaceted or multi-part, and I'll do my best to break down each of them for you. We'll begin with your health card. The health card here is about soul expansion, and it says your consciousness is expanding, your understanding of the connection between all things is also, of course, expanding. So this is very cool. Some of you are deciding to do a little bit more with spiritual growth. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So this is just a kind of affirmation or confirmation of that. This could also be, for some of you, a chance to look at different ways to improve your general sort of health or well-being. So if you traditionally work solely with Western or Eastern medicine, there might be a blend of the two. If you always try doing things one way, this is saying if you shake it up, just like in exercise, your body can get more fit when you're not doing the same routine every day. Standard disclaimers apply, of course, as I'm talking about health. I'm looking at the energetic opportunities. You should always talk to a professional before you make any major changes in your life, but I'm here to help you kind of like deal with the metaphysical portion of it. All right, looking at just the cards and seeing if there's anything in particular that is striking me as something to talk about. Some of you could move a little bit more. The Hanged Man is a card that shows a lack of movement, some stagnation, and it's coming through in the environment. So maybe you have the kind of job, for those of you that might be an IT professional or just do a lot of remote work and it's you in front of your laptop. This is reminding you to stand up, to take a walk. One of the best things about having a dog, for instance, is I have to do that anywhere between 3 to 5 times a day, depending on how many times he wants to walk. Usually it's around 4 times a day at least. And if I've been sitting too long, he just comes over and nuzzles me with his nose and starts to get feisty. So if you don't have that, put some reminders on your watch, or just make sure that every 2 to 3 hours you're stretching. It's important, particularly for your legs, and to avoid any sort of clotting and things of that nature. I say that because the Five of Pentacles does connect with circulation in the legs. Be careful for those of you that have any sort of joint issues, whether it's your knee, hip, or ankle. This card can show sort of balance issues, or again, just sort of like, maybe a sharp pain or something there. Obviously work with a professional if that happens. Four of Pentacles has to do with your stress management and how it can affect the heart, particularly like blood pressure, cholesterol, and things of that nature. So make sure that not only are you eating and living healthy, but you're doing what you can to reduce stress so that the heart isn't burdened by that extra strain. Those seem to be the main things here. One thing that I'll say here is it's a great time to let go of a cycle. The Eight of Cups in reverse comes through when we're ready to walk away from something. So it does feel like some of you are finally ready to take that step in a different direction. Maybe it's towards healthier living. Maybe it's towards just something new that you've wanted to try that's going to be very good for you. But whatever it is, it requires saying, no more of this, no more of this. I'm finally ready to deal with this, that kind of stuff. And that, my friends, is what's coming through for health. All right, let's move on to your wealth card. Wealth is your money. It's your activities. It's also sort of life purpose. So let's look at this card. It says, love flows through you and to you, voyage of the heart. And then we also have this passage card. So hello, this is a lot of Six of Swords energy, basically, movement. Some of the movement happens when you just focus. We talked about the Outlander example there, where you touch a stone and you transport yourself through time. So in tarot, it would be, I'm going to really embrace this idea, and that idea is going to take me places I never thought it would. For me, picking up a deck of cards is an example of that. And I had a friend who told me, she said, this will change everything in your life. I'm like, really? She said, yes, really. So she was right. Love flows through you and to you. Do you love what you're doing? And I know we can't always love everything about our job, but we should love something. Maybe it's the group of people that you work with. When I was high school and college student, I worked in a restaurant, and I didn't love standing on my feet all day. I remember the first night that I worked as a busboy back at the beginning, I had to actually like soak my legs and my feet in the bath, just like because it hurt from standing for like 6 hours or 8 hours. And then eventually you get used to it. But I just remember I didn't love the work or coming home and smelling like food. I did like working with the people. I loved my fellow waiters and all the people in the restaurant. It was just really cool. And some of the customers. But at the end of the day, I remember like after 4 years of that, I thought, I don't want to ever do this again. It's really hard work. That's why I'm always kind to waiters and waitresses and anyone in the service industry, because it's hard work. So, but I loved, what got me through that was I loved the team. And actually what probably kept me going for over 15 years in corporate environments was I either liked the product or I liked what I was practicing and doing, like design or photography or production, or I loved maybe sort of like how it was touching or affecting people. There had to be something about it that connected me. And then when none of those were happening, I thought, time to move on. I no longer like the people, I no longer like the product, and I'm not really in love with how this environment is working. So it's time to go. If it's just the paycheck, it's not enough. So love has to be there. And also, are you being supported? So your heart has to be happy on one of those levels, hopefully a couple of those levels. And if none of that exists, there's something better. And it's time to go and find someone who loves and appreciates you, not just in a relationship, but where you're spending your time and energy during the daytime too. You have to have it in both areas. Looking at wealth overall and seeing what else we have to do here. You are more than you realize, and you're worth more, you are more, and other people see that. I see that. There's something bigger on the horizon. This is not as good as it gets. So don't limit yourself. You either need to push through the glass ceiling or walk out the door. Something has to shift so that there's more reciprocity happening for you. You have more boss energy than you might realize, so you can definitely lead and people will follow. You have the ability to innovate and inspire someone to invest in you as well. So whether you're job seeking or looking for a raise or looking for movement or something, this is the time to put your energy in that. And someone will be, at least one or two offers are coming through on the table here. 6 to 8 weeks, because we have the Eight of Cups up here. So you just have to be sort of patient there. That's why this is happening. But the right thing is connecting with you in the long run. Okay? And if you're not happy, it's time to move on. That's the main thing that this is basically showing us. So I like that. Okay, let's move on to love and relationships. Time to make a splash here. We have this whale breaching the water here, coming up here and basically saying, hey, pay attention to me. I love whales as symbols. So in relationships, you're meant to stand out. The whale to me would be like a King of Cups, Queen of Cups. But it's also like the star card because you can't ignore it. It's big. It's the biggest, one of the biggest, well, depending on what kind of whale or shark it is, they're the biggest, sort of animals in the sea. So you have this chance to shine, and don't let anybody take that ability or opportunity or window away from you. Let's break it down into 3 different areas. We're going to look at those of you that are already in an important relationship, those of you that are looking for one, those of you that are single, happy, but kind of curious what the universe is throwing your way. Okay, before I even read, I just got a sharp pain in my solar plexus for no reason. So, and I'm looking at relationships. So for those of you in a relationship, the solar plexus, again, would be right around here, right around your belly button. It has to do with power dynamics. So sometimes this can be the oldest relationships we have, like with our parents, but it can also be partnerships, like whoever you're married to or you've been dating, or it could also be a work partnership, again, a boss sort of energy where you're trying to find your power and you're trying to find your voice. So speaking up, holding your ground and saying what you need to say, this is going to be the most challenging aspect for those kinds of relationships. And we see that coming through in a pretty clear way with these 2 cards too. It's just fear of being hurt again. Not necessarily that this, because I don't see that. I don't think that this person's going to hurt you per se, but there's a fear of a repeat from the past. And that's what we see playing out here. So if we take these cards out, it's pretty good. But this is missing something because you look at all the stuff that's gone wrong. This is, again, a replay of someone who wasn't there for you in the past. And this is holding on to that feeling or feeling like it's going to happen and holding yourself in place. So in existing relationships, let's take this repeat energy out, say or do what you need to say or do, and know that there's probably going to be more receptive energy than you would ever imagined. And if there isn't, take a step back and think, should I present it differently? Did they have a point? Am I just used to this person doing what they're doing? Because again, we can't get away from Lovers, Ace of Pentacles, and Ace of Wands. There's someone or something out there that is willing or ready to connect with you. So if it's not this, then it's someone else. Just step back. I really think it's cyclical. It's from the past, and this is the cycle that you're ready to release. Also, when it comes to communicating, just slow it down a little bit. Have you ever gotten to the point where I'm thinking of like 3 or 4 different things that happen in the body. So sometimes we are afraid to say things to people, so our throat closes down a little bit, right? And you find it hard to get the words out, right? Or your voice sounds weird because you're just intimidated. So that could be one thing to be dealing with. You could be feeling butterflies or upset stomach, because I got that for a second. It's gone now. I'm trying to think what was the other one that was coming through. Anyway, any of these things that happen are typically short-lived, and you just need to take a deep breath. Oh, the other thing that I was thinking of is sometimes like trembling or shaking, and it's hard, like your voice is shaky. So if any of these things happen, you can do it in front of the person too. Just take a deep breath and say, all right, this is triggering me and I want to talk about it. But I think we both need to sort of like evaluate what we need to do, what we want. This isn't the right time. Give me a couple moments to get my thoughts together or research this. If they want you to do it right now, just say, give me 5 minutes. I will answer it, but I need a couple of minutes to get myself back to a clear-headed space. Anybody can wait 5 minutes. Nobody needs it like right now. So get your thoughts together if you're feeling any of these things, or just say, I need a drink of water, I need to use the restroom, and then I'll come right back. Take that extra moment. Because if anyone won't let you have a restroom break, that's crazy too. So just say, yes, let's talk, but I need a drink of water. I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And that gives you enough time to figure out what you want to say and do, and then come back in there and think, all right, this is going to work out. So just take a pause before saying or doing it. And I think that's going to be key. But there is something that needs to be said or something that needs to be done. The other thing that I'm looking at with this is just how invested you both are. Because these are cards that are under delivering. That's the only way that I can put it. Not invested enough. So one party is not showing up the way that they should. And you can lead by example. That's a great way. You can have that discussion. You can take a break. There's a lot of things you can do, but I just want to see both partners putting in 50-50, or both delivering 100%, however you want to kind of slice it up. But one can't be doing the lion's share. And that's the challenge this month, is reciprocity and standing your ground and finding your power and your strength, and not being afraid to sort of put yourself out there. The good news here is the door is open. So we're not getting judgment or justice here in the outcome. So there's no fear of someone, sort of like just slamming the door. But there is a need to sort of like get your space or get your head cleared, or they might need to take a break and deliberate. But this is usually a card that indicates someone coming back too. So at the end of the day, though, if I'm looking at 4 of Pentacles and the 8 of Cups, that's still not enough. We need more. We need to get that to the 6 of Pentacles. So if they come back and it's still not enough, that's a sign for you, okay? Or if you come back and you're still not feeling the connection, that's enough. All right. Now, for those of you that are looking for love, you got to do the healing first. There's something from the past that's coming through that requires a little bit of healing. So maybe you're working this through with a therapist or counselor. You could also just be choosing to clear up some family issues between mom, dad, or sibling. All of these things need to sort of be dealt with first. You could also be looking at your finances and deciding, I need to pay off my debt. I need to get a better paying job. I need to stop holding on to these things that I don't need anymore, and just sort of clear that out. So whether it's emotions or finances, clear that before you bring someone else in, so they're not dealing with this is baggage of some sort. Things around you may be sort of slow when it comes to meeting a new person, and then it takes a while for them to call you back, or you're just not seeing anyone connect with you right now when you're trying to date. I think that's okay, because you're supposed to be dealing with this first. And it feels like your energy would be better used right now with finances or work or investing in yourself. If you are dating, and there are a few options on the table, one of them is, so here's one that looks good on paper, and here's one where you're just feeling it energetically or physically. You should be feeling it. Just because everyone else thinks you should date someone, or because this person has a good job, or because that's what's expected, that's not enough. You need to have the energy too. So for those of you that are kind of at this cross in the road, choose the one that you're attracted to, not the one that you think you should be dating. Because if you don't feel it now, you're not going to feel it 3 years from now, 10 years from now. You shouldn't have to convince yourself. And it shouldn't be out of pity, and it shouldn't be for any reason except I feel it mind, body, and spirit, okay? So don't settle for less, because those cards at the center are about settling for less. If you are single and happy, good for you, and it's the best time to be single and happy right now. I see leaps and bounds happening in career. I see great ideation and great sort of new ideas coming through that you can develop upon right now. And I think there's still some healing everybody needs to do this month. Not surprisingly, though, for many of you that are disconnected, there could be a strong fire sign coming into your life, because we have the Lovers and the King of Wands here. And that hits for all aspects of looking in love, looking for love, single and happy. There could be a fire sign that enters your life. And actually, we have a couple of different, it's like two templates of the same person. But again, I see one where there's like practical and sort of like cognitive connection. Then there's one where you're just physically or chemically connected to them. But go where you feel the strongest connection this month. I think your senses will not lead you in the wrong direction when it comes to that. That's it. I think the main thing, if I were just to kind of pull a common thread across all of it, self-love, personal development, clearing the finances, clearing and improving self-worth, and knowing that that's actually going to help you with the net worth, and slowing down before you say or do something, and making sure that you really do it with a bang. And then before the month is out, deciding what you want and saying it or showing it. Those are what's really coming through in the relationship energy. But yes, there's a fire sign if you're open and ready and willing. That's what I'm seeing here. Okay, now let's take a look at your destiny card. Very cool that we have an arrow coming through. It says, surround yourself with protective energy. Arrows are like swords, especially if I'm looking at the Wildwood rather. Wildwood has that. So whenever I'm looking at an arrow, I think about focus, and I also think about a few chances. because you usually, if we're looking at like archery, you have a few, quivers back there, arrows in there. And you just have to sort of like decide, if I don't do it the first time, let me firm up my aim the second time, keep trying to hit the target. And the protective energy here would also be, for some of you, don't get in the crossfire of someone else when we're looking at this. Keep your mind and your aim very focused and keep trying until you hit the bullseye. Okay, it might take a few attempts, but you'll hit it. Perfect. We're going to now take a look at the big idea. And for this, I'm going to use the other deck. So since we had two decks that were really close, we'll take a look now at the sun and moon. I believe that was the other one. Let me just double check really quickly to make sure that I am remembering the poll correctly. So yes, sun and moon was the second one. All right, so we're going to take a quick look at the big idea. The big idea, of course, is a way for you to figure out what's my main focus, because we talked about a lot. For all of you that have difficulty in focusing on everything, this is the main message, like a one-card pull. So we got the King of Swords coming through, which is saying, say it, then do it. Walk the walk, talk the talk. Let's make this happen, all right? So people are waiting for you to announce, deliver, somehow kind of like demonstrate. So you are going to be put into the spotlight at some point this month. Embrace it and think, I can do this. What else have I been working up to if not this? So this is your moment to take that sort of like stage and do something really cool with it. But your actions and your words carry. So think them through wisely and do something really cool with whatever platform you've been given. We're going to look at blessings and blocks next, seeing how you can enhance this sort of experience and what might also be coming through to slow you down or hold you back. So your blessing is the Nine of Cups and your block is the Chariot reversed. So let's take a look at both of these and talk about it. All right, blessing. Passion. Passion can also be like overwhelming. So the Nine of Cups in the upright position can just be like, I have the capacity to look at the sunny side of the street, look at the positive. When it's reversed, it can sort of be like a binary. It's the best day ever, or this day is terrible. But it's not sort of the middle where it's sort of like, okay, I had a bad morning, but we're going to push through it this afternoon. Or I had a great morning, but I have some things I need to deal with this afternoon, so I want to stay level-headed so I can get everything done. Just trying to find a way to pull yourself closer to center. You don't have to be so neutral that you're not feeling things, but it's about realizing that your best day ever may still be difficult for some other people around you. So being in tune, reading the room when you're in a really good state, and then if you're in a really bad state, figuring out, is there a silver lining to this? Is there anything I could have changed? Is there someone I can talk to? Is there something I can do to release this? So you have a lot of passion and a lot of feeling. Make sure that it's being channeled into something productive. And if it is, then it's a blessing. But it could be a blessing in disguise because you could go to extremes. So the main thing here is to just channel the emotions, then it remains a blessing. And then the block was Chariot reverse, which is don't let someone step in and take your opportunity to lead or steal your thunder. Don't step away from a leadership opportunity because you're afraid of it. And also be ready and willing to say, hey, we need to focus. We need to get this train on the tracks. Because when I'm looking at this, I see two different bulls that are headed in different directions. We see a little Cancer symbol here on the Chariot as well. So part of this is going to be all this sort of passionate energy that's coming through. Again, channeling the passion and then realizing you can't make everyone happy, but you can validate some of their concerns. You can try to find a common ground. I think that's going to be the most important thing. But if necessary, you may be asked to go your own way. The Chariot card is telling me you have the leadership capacity to do it. Don't second guess that capacity, okay? Let's move on to the viewers and readers' choice here. I need to grab my keyboard for this, and we're going to see what makes sense to talk about together today. Okay, so as I'm looking at all the cards in front of me, specifically, I want to help with the reset here. So self-worth and net worth is one thing that comes through. And just hold for a second. I'll put this up for vote in just a moment. So viewers' choice. First option is self-worth, net worth. And I'm going to put increasing because we want an increase in both. I think that's a really great option to look at. And then I want to look at the timing of things because of the Hanged Man. So understanding cosmic timing. I'm going to make it a hard poll for you to decide upon because these are all good options. Taking the lead. Taking the lead. And I could also kind of look at collaboration here because what's the message around both? Because you might have to foster that collaboration. So those are your choices. I feel like that's difficult enough. And that gives you some really cool opportunities for me to dig deeper. And then let me see. I want to look at making and breaking a cycle because of the Eight of Cups. That's the card that I'm drawn to. Making and breaking a cycle. Got two cards, so I'm going to look at both of them because that one just wanted to come out. All right, so while you vote, making and breaking a cycle. So the first thing that we have is Five of Wands. Interesting that this deck actually will put captions or titles upon some of these. So strife is the word that they chose for the Five of Wands. I like to look at the Five of Wands as an opportunity for one of two main things. One is to either collaborate and one is to compete. Competition has a time and place, but if it's the only thing that's being done, it does lead to this energy of feeling like, God, is it worth it? Collaboration can be a lot more enticing and can be a lot more productive. And it's always more fun when we see people that would traditionally compete somehow come together. So you'll see this. A cool example was when I was talking about technology earlier. There was a couple of moments where like Microsoft and Apple worked together. Microsoft actually bailed Apple out a couple of times through adding money and investment. So I remember a couple of times where Steve and Bill were talking, or like when they decided to make the Office suite compatible with the Mac so that the Mac was still a business machine. But there was a sort of like connection there. Microsoft, it was helping them because they had all these antitrust things. So they were like, hey, we'll help out the underdog. And Apple really needed the money. So sometimes when you get two fierce competitors, it actually benefited everybody because there were options and it did help. But sometimes we will see maybe two really great athletes or like wrestlers or something like that, and you see them compete and you like it because that's cool to watch, but it's also cool if they get behind a cause. Maybe then there's a charity option or something like that. So there's a time for competition, then there's a time for cooperation. And you have this little dance right now where you decide, are we competing again or are we coming together to help the greater good? And that's what you have to decide. The Olympics are a time like we're all, typically, it didn't happen this last time, but typically all countries come together and stop wars and just sort of like say, hey, we're going to compete, but it's going to be sort of like a spirit of peace too. So you can maybe combine the two and find this sort of dance. Competition, collaboration, what's the better good? That's one of the sort of things that we need to look at when it comes to making and breaking a cycle. So a truce or a common agreement where you stop fighting about one thing and fix something, and then you can get back to fighting if you want to after that. But there has to be this sort of like smoking of the peace pipe and understanding of what's necessary. Then putting that into a contract. And it's keeping yourself and or the other person accountable to that is going to be key as well. Okay. Looks like we have an eagle here as well. So really get that sort of, be sharp about this. When I think of an eagle, I think of like vision. So try to get ahead of something and think about the future when you're putting this stuff down so it's not too short-sighted. All right, we got a lot on that one. So let's take a look at what you voted for. For me, pretty clear leader here with self-worth, net worth. I think that was a perfect decision to look at it because that's holding you back in a way that it hopefully shouldn't. So how can you break through the glass ceiling? How can you just look at yourself and see beyond your own insecurities? What's the message here with self-worth and net worth? Four of Cups. there's a hidden blessing here. So this is a beautifully illustrated one. We can see the cup floating in the sky. Traditional Rider-Waite-Smith would be very similar, where sometimes it's right by them. Some of the decks that I use will have it like hidden in a tree or just hidden to the background. So what I'm seeing here is that you haven't been allowed to sort of see potential. So I think that if someone did hold you back in the past, again, it's not because of a lack. It's because they saw potential and they didn't want to lose you. And if you can see the potential right now, the universe is throwing something in your direction, something really cool, an Ace of Cups. And we had the Ace of Pentacles, we had the Ace of Wands here, and here's your hidden Ace of Cups. You already had a hidden Two of Cups. So you have love and support, and now you have something that's really, really cool on the horizon as well. So if you're just looking, I think the main thing that you need to see this month is confirmation, and then looking at it in a way that you've never considered it before. Because the Four of Cups usually comes through when you think, that person has the life that I want, or if I could only do this, then I would be okay, or this is better than what I've got. And this is saying you've got so much, whether it's just internal, looking at self-worth, you've got so much to offer that you don't realize it. And once you realize it, that's when the door opens. That's when everything starts to get really fun and exciting and magical for you. So for you, it's saying I keep saying this, but hopefully it will eventually kind of resonate with everyone, but you have all that it takes. You are not just enough, but more than enough. But because you've gotten kind of used to receiving less than enough, that's now sitting in your headspace and you're thinking, but if I was worth more, I would have received more. Here's one cool thing. Put yourself out there and enter in with the idea that who knows how much I'm worth? Let the universe show me, because the law of supply and demand works this way. You won't get less than you deserve. And if you get handed an opportunity and it's far more than you thought, someone thinks that you can do more, that you're worth more, someone wants to date you and you think that they're out of your league, or that you're out of their league rather, none of this is true, because it came into your path and you wouldn't have received less than you're worth. Just like you're not going to get paid less than you're worth, or more than you're worth rather, because basically the market won't allow you to get paid more than you're worth. So you may be paid less, and that's not worth it. You want to be paid exactly at the kind of ceiling or roof of what you're worth. So what I meant to say, if I didn't say this, is you'll never get paid more than you're worth, typically, traditionally, because the market's going to pull it back down if it needs to. So let the universe show you your limits. Be open to receive all of this and more, all of this or better. Let the universe cap it. Don't cap it yourself. And that's where the error has been. And just because you were worth or celebrated or given something in the past, that was the past, and that's not who you are. Remember, your totem was the dragonfly today, and the dragonfly sheds its skin. So therefore, the past is the past, and it doesn't fit anymore. It's like when you're growing as a kid, trying to put yourself in a shirt that's too tight. It's not going to fit. You can't get into the pants. Your shoes are too small. You can't do that anymore. So let the universe show you just how far you can go and just how big things can get. It's not up to you. And that's a freeing thought, because the universe wants to show you more. And that's what's going to help your self-worth. There's more coming through. And I can say that from the card perspective as well with the two aces. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, so we're going to now move on to the sun, rising, and moon portion. This is something I added a month ago, and it seems to be pretty popular. A reminder that you can use my reading to be used for any part of your card, even in your chart, rather, including like Venus, for instance. But I know that sun, rising, and moon are the most popular, so we're going to dig a little deeper into these different aspects and see what's coming through. Let me pull them first, and then we'll break them down. Sun, rising, moon. Okay. let's start with sun sign messages. This is the true you. So for those of you that are Libra sun, this is basically your go-to sort of message, and then we'll break it down for rising and moon afterwards. So we have the Wheel of Fortune. It's a good month for Libra sun. It's a great month, fantastic, extraordinary month. The Wheel of Fortune is coming through to say, finally, we're seeing the wheel of change happen for you. So you could, even if you're not receiving like cash or this big opportunity, I love this one because we see the cogs moving. So something could have changed here in your heart, could have changed in your head, or the doors are slowly starting to open around you. All you need to do is invest in it, because you have to crank that Wheel of Fortune as well. So just decide, yes, now's the time. I'm not going to wait any longer. Whatever it is that has been holding me back, now is the time for this to pay off. The hard work will pay off. The opportunity will avail itself. Someone or something is going to open up to you, and it's good. Good time for money, for business, for wealth, for ideas to develop, to form, but it can also indicate a move. The Wheel of Fortune, to me, is very close to Death and the World and the Fool, because they are big movement cards, or even the Tower, but it's positive. The Death and the Tower cards can sometimes be overwhelming. The Wheel of Fortune is usually very uplifting, just like the World card is. And World and Wheel of Fortune energy can also show like big changes in the world around you. The Wheel of Fortune can show 4 different seasons, a change of life, a 1-year sort of trajectory that you might be on as well. So you got some good stuff coming through. And we're looking beyond this 6 to 8 week period. So your cycle, Libra, is resetting right now. Even though normally this would be, September, October, that time of year, it's happening now for you, a little bit in advance of your solar return. So some really exciting stuff. Open up now and then see where you're at a year from now, and see if you might not be in a completely different job, relationship, or living situation. And you'll look back and think, wow, I didn't know this was possible in this short amount of time, but it is. The cycle begins now. It may not completely pan out until 10 to 12 months from now, but the beginnings are starting to move now. So just know that like an iceberg, there's a lot beneath the surface. Don't underestimate that potential. It's not yet shown itself, but it will. Okay, that is the sun message. It's a beautiful message, by the way. Looking at rising. So if sun is your sort of like personality, your heart and your soul, the rising and ascendant is what you're trying to project out to the universe. It's not always who you are. It's the perception, it's the projection, it's the desire for others to sort of see you in this light. And it's also kind of like how you're operating at work and in school and in environments around you. And in that respect, it feels like you're being pulled in too many directions. So we have the Two of Pentacles, which wants to find balance, which needs to focus. Two of Pentacles in reverse is saying, I don't want to do all of these things anymore, and I need to focus. So if it's a school situation, you may be deciding, like if you were torn between a couple of majors or a couple of schools, you're gonna home in on what matters the most and say, yeah, it's this one. I know now, but I have to decide to let the other thing go, or I need to put it to the back burner for a bit and focus. So the standing stones, or I was kind of taking this to the Outlander universe, the sort of like traveling stones. Once you say, this is it, then that's when you go straight through. So this particular card is especially true for rising and ascendant Libras. You're going to be able to choose, and then through choosing, open a portal. And that's it. You have to find your balance this month. And of course, this sign, more than any, speaking from someone who's Libra sun, needs to have its balance. So when someone or something throws you off, it's kind of like poking the bear, right? Libra is a very kind sign until someone's in there poking the bear and putting the scales out of balance. You don't want to do that with Libra, because it'll then use its ability to use words and actions, and it can act quickly. So you want to find the balance before that happens. But what I see when you find and choose your focal point is absolute amazing expansion happening for you. So your message is you still have this capacity, which is what the sun had, but you have to choose, you have to take a little bit more action, where for the sun, it may just happen because they've been working on it for a while. You have a couple of things that have been pulling at your energy, and you're going to say, this one. Then the wheel happens for you, but you have to make the balance happen first. And if someone in your life is poking the bear and making you feel uncomfortable or unhappy, you're going to choose to invest less in that sort of energy. Or if you're in a work or school environment and it's toxic or distracting, you're going to invest less in that. And if there's anything around you that leaves you feeling uninspired, less in that. More in where your heart is at, because as we looked at earlier, it was here, love flows through you, and this was in the wealth area. So for you, Libra rising, you must feel it in the heart center for others to feel it, for the expansion to happen for you. Let's move on to Libra moon. Ironically, you got the sun in your moon, but the moon is cool. We'll talk about what it does first, and then we'll say why the sun came through. All right, so for Libra moon, this is sometimes the part of you that you're even surprised by. We keep secrets from ourselves, we keep secrets from others, we keep certain things to ourselves. I like to kind of look at the moon as a secret sauce, though. It's like your superpower. And so your superpower right now is your ability to kind of like turn on this undeniable chemistry or charisma that makes other people feel like, wow, I need to spend more time around this person. So turn on your charm this month. It's going to help you in all aspects of life. We also, with the sun, just like the Wheel of Fortune, it can indicate a 1-year sort of process or change happening for you. This one has a lot less to do with sort of like big shifts. What I just see is you coming into your power, coming into your strength, because this is connected with the solar plexus. I did choose to wear a really bright color for Libra today. So for many of you with Libra moon, you're finding your hidden strength and confidence, and that's going to open up a lot of doors for you. It's also a love card, and I like that this deck shows it. The Morgan Greer deck does it. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that show love. When the sun card has lovers on it, like this one does, it can be a really high partnership, like a high frequency partnership. So the sun, the star, the 6 of Cups, they're beautiful cards to come through for love. This one has a little bit more passion to it, maybe a little less karmic energy. But if you're looking for this sort of deep connection with someone and have been waiting for a while, then I see that happening. But it comes through when you are truly yourself. The sun and the star card require you to sort of just be confident and authentic and powerful and strong. And if you do that, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay, so this one actually portends good things for relationships as well. All right, so we are getting ready for the final portion of this reading, which comprises 2 pieces. One will be a very brief meditation, and the next is a chance for you to meditate on a single question for me, and then I'll pull an answer. So to me, that's one of my favorite parts, because that gives you a chance to sort of make sure that you got what you needed out of this reading. Before we do any of that, just a quick reminder to please, if you've been watching a long time and you've never subscribed, let's do that. I'm pretty close to a milestone. It's taken a while to get there. It's probably going to take another month, but maybe by the end of next month, when I get to 325,000, I will do a Q&A, and I'll give members and Patreon supporters a chance to send me some questions, and I'll answer those. And then I may open up a few for everyone else. So please subscribe if you haven't. If you've already subscribed, you have a chance to like each video once, so please do that so other people can enjoy this. And there's also a share button here on YouTube, and that helps with engagement. So you can share it here, or you can join me on social media and retweet one of my tweets. You can share something on Facebook, and also share something on Instagram if you need to. So I would love to have you do that if you can. A reminder as you do that on social media, just to make sure that it's the real me, and you can look at my website to make sure that you've got the right user handle. And finally, if you want to show a little love and support, you can do that in Super Chat or Super Sticker. All right, so let's get ready for the meditation, and then we'll answer your final question. While I'm getting things set up, I'm going to give you a chance to pick an instrument that I can use. and then we'll go into that. So I can either use the crystal pyramid or the singing bowl. I'm actually in the process of getting another singing bowl for an option, so I may have a third one in the future to look at. But in the meantime, let's get set up for this meditation. I want to work with the dragonfly, and obviously since it came through as your totem, and I like the idea of it shedding its skin. So let's imagine that it's just coming out of that phase where it's in the water and it's getting ready to get out of that sort of phase and open up its wings and fly. So close your eyes, see yourself by a stream, and just focus on the sound of the moving water. So imagine first that it's just you, your physical being there by the stream. Nothing scary about it because you're grounded, you're sitting cross-legged, and there's this stream that's winding around you. So it's almost like you're on a little peninsula because the way the stream is sort of cutting into the land. So as you sit on this peninsula of land, you are looking at various things around you. One of the things that's coming in could be some of the lilies, water lilies or wildflowers, tiger lilies, whatever's kind of on the water's edge. So looking at that, listening to the sound of the water moving, focusing on your breath as well. I want you to feel like you can start to move and wind and connect with the water and the sound of the water. And as you do that, you notice a dragonfly getting ready to shed its skin. On one of the nearby flowers near you, you can see it just coming out of that metamorphosis phase. And as it does that, it takes a moment or two to let the wings kind of like stretch out, dry out, expand, and it comes over and it lands right on your nose. So you can kind of watch it as the wings fly a little bit. You can see the two eyes looking at you, and then you hold out your hand and it lands there as well. I want you to take a moment and really connect with this totem and allow it to show you your capacity for change. If you'd like to, sometimes when I work with butterflies, I do this as well. You can lay down on the ground that's kind of right around the stream, and some other newly born dragonflies want to come over and help you. So you could just close your eyes, lay your hands out and arms out, and just allow the dragonflies to land on the parts of your body that need to receive a healing. So you'll get as many as you need. It might just be a couple, it might just be one. Definitely one on the heart space as well. And you can just see them gently sitting there with their wings kind of moving a little bit. They'll move around a little bit as they need to, and they're doing a subtle healing to your mind and your body. Just allow that to happen and feel this sense of lightness of being. Maybe in your mind's eye, you can imagine that you are like one of those dragonflies, skimming along the surface of the water, looking at the world around you while they're doing their magic and their work on you. All right, and as you continue to kind of connect with that lovely nature totem, I'm going to grab the singing bowl and we're going to meditate, and then we'll take a look at your final question. All right, take a moment now and imagine that the work with the not the butterflies, but with the dragonflies is done. That the initial dragonfly that came over kind of hovers in front of you for a second and kind of like bows its head and moves on. Take a moment to look into the water and see that you are not the same as you were before. You're either feeling the sense of being more powerful, being brighter, being stronger, and you have the sense now that the old you has stepped away, that this is a chance for a new beginning in your life. Looking into the water, say these three things before we step into the final card, which is, I am ready, I am worth it, and the best is yet to come. All right? Open your eyes if you haven't already. If you'd like to bring your energy back into your body, you can rub your hands together. Put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that. Take a nice deep breath, and again, open your eyes on the exhale. Okay, let's take a look now at your final card. This is whatever it is that you still want me to look at that I haven't already taken a look at. So focus on the question. Don't type it out just yet. Just focus on it so that I'm not influenced by any questions floating there in chat. And let's see what's coming through for you. It's the one that I featured in the channel messages today. So we have the Death and Rebirth card. The card is in reverse, which means change could come from an unexpected sort of trajectory or location or place. This is your time to rise above any failure in your life or anything that was just feeling like it was a block, and realize this is the time where things magically start to happen. Let's revisit the card that I had written up way at the beginning here. And see here, this was the only one that wasn't a Rider-Waite-Smith one that I featured. So let me go to the picture-in-picture so you can see it. So I said again earlier that you can actually kind of skip a phase here. You think something may take longer than it's actually going to take. So your sort of growth period is not the same as everyone else. You may have done more work in a past lifetime, or you may just have finally realized, oh, that's all I need to do. I don't need to go through any of this anymore. And you get this chance to sort of pass through something faster than expected. So don't be surprised if something happens quicker. Again, it's going to require you to let go of the old way of thinking or doing. And that's what I originally pulled this card, even just sort of in my head, I was thinking it's like the Death and Rebirth card. The Death card in reverse carries with it a couple of extra meanings, which is no more stagnation. If there's any part of your life in which you feel this sense of slowing, stagnation, etc., this card is saying that needs to end. There has to be a place of growth for you. So if you're not getting a return on your energetic investment, or if you're not feeling connected, that's where the change needs to happen. If you quote unquote failed or didn't succeed the first time, remember what I was talking about with prototyping. It doesn't always work the first time. We've used computers here as an example, but if you think of like even the Mac, there was a couple of versions of that. There was a Lisa computer that existed before it, and even the first Mac wasn't that successful. There had to be 2 or 3 before it's the little box that we love and know. You can look at almost any technology out there, or any sort of example of even successful people that tried to make it sort of like in music, in acting, in politics, in anything, in inventing something. A lot of times they go through several failures before their big success, and they're remembered more for the success than the missteps, but the missteps were the foundation so that they had the context with which to succeed eventually. So you're just building a lot of context, a lot of understanding, and you're right at that precipice of being able to now break through, which is exciting. It's a good month for you, Libra. It feels energetically different to me than it has for the past couple of months. It feels lighter and brighter, and I see more movement for you than I have in a while, and you deserve it. Okay, so I'm happy for you, and excited to see how this kind of shakes out for all of you. That, my friends, is this month's reading. I'll be reading for Scorpio tomorrow. And then on the weekend, of course, I always do a Sunday collective for the next 7 days after that. You can still watch this weekly collective if you haven't seen that yet. And then next week will be Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. So feel free to add those dates to your calendar. And again, if you need my schedule, it's on my website right there. All right. I'd like to take a couple moments to say thank you to all of you that showed up. If it's your first time here, good to have you. Again, subscribe if you haven't, so hopefully we can see each other again. For those of you that have been joining me for almost 8 years, it's good to have you back. Thank you for this journey. One thing that I might be doing for the weekend collective is I might just put some, just so that I have different things that I'm looking at, I might put a post sometime this week and just say, what else would you like me to look at? And I'll get some feedback from all of you. And also I might do another post to see like what other types of videos you'd like me to do. I'm always interested in feedback. I always want to grow. So thank you for taking the journey with me. All right, let's take a look right now at memberships. I want to say welcome to any new members, and then I'll say thanks for the super stickers and super chat. Thanks, of course, to my existing channel members and Patreon supporters for being with me as well. All right, so looks like we have 2 folks that have rejoined. So thank you to Crystal Azure and Vicky Lopez for rejoining after 14 and 7 months, respectively. I appreciate that. All right, and now for those that gave back with a super sticker or super chat for today. By the way, you can also use the thanks button on replay, and I always make sure to heart those, so thank you. So today, kicking things off, we have Sonette LaRue. Thank you so much for being the first to contribute. And then we have Love and Light, Aphrodite Goddess 369, Sheena Davis, Jeannie Hart, Kit F, and Robin Redman. Thanks, folks. I appreciate it. Good to see all of you here. And that's it for today. Lots of love and light to you. Take care of yourselves. And again, I'll be back again tomorrow and on Sunday. I hope to see you here. All right. Bye-bye. And have a great one, everybody.